Silent Night is a 2012 American horror film directed by Stephen C. Miller. This Stephen Miller? Not this asshole. It stars Jaime King, Malcolm McDowell, and Rick Skene. And the plot follows a police department in a small Wisconsin town scrambling to track down a man dressed as Santa, murdering people around town at random on Christmas Eve. So, in case you guys haven't noticed, I tried to review some seasonal horror stuff this month, and I should have started earlier. And I went for like lesser known shit, instead of the classics. And don't get me wrong, I didn't review anything particularly great, but it's all been first time watches. I definitely didn't choose any of these based on quality. This one here is no real exception. And this was actually the first remake of the 1984 film. I know there was a remake this year. I actually didn't see it. I meant to, but this was the first remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night. Except that it isn't. I guess you could call it a reboot or something. I'm not really sure because the screenplay writer had actually never seen the original film, which I just found so funny. He was just asked to write his own idea of a Christmas-themed horror movie. I assume slasher. I really don't know why this decision was made. I mean, I guess I have a hard time making sense of it, and I think it's kind of stupid. Although if you've seen any of those 5 Silent Night, Deadly Night films, I mean, there's little to zero continuity throughout all 5 of those fucking movies. So maybe it's a genius move, doing what those guys did. I don't know. It probably isn't. I'll say right now, though, I really don't think this movie is terrible. I expected it to be. In fact, I kind of like it. I can see myself watching this, maybe every few, Christmas seasons or whatever. I like how this movie starts. The evil Santa getting ready to start his day, and I like the cinematography here. I actually do like the way he looks, with the mask and everything. And you learn real quick that this is going to be a slasher, and it's going to be, maybe hopefully on the brutal side, and I really appreciated that. People just getting murked in the opening scene, very underrated. And for what I've seen so far, this seems to be very much Stephen C. Miller's style. Like to the point, quick edits, and kind of shaky camera work. It's very of its time, that style, his personal style, I would say. His movies definitely had that like early 2000s look, kind of ugly. But I mean, I've seen way worse. It may be a 2012 movie, but a lot of these things here feel like very 2002. That isn't necessarily a complaint, but it's also not a compliment. After that opening scene, we meet 2 of our police characters, the 2 main ones, Sheriff Cooper, played by Sir Malcolm McDowell, of course, and our lead Aubrey, played by Jaime King. I love Malcolm McDowell, but anytime I see him in the later part of his career, I just can't help but think of him as Loomis. And I really actually liked Aubrey's character. She isn't just like a token police officer or even like a token female police officer. And Jaime King, really gave life to a character in a movie where you wouldn't really expect it. She even has like a fairly elaborate backstory that I really also appreciated. She's still grieving from losing her husband, and she lives with her parents currently. Her dad being a retired sheriff, and also plays Santa. So do with that what you will. And she questions whether or not she can handle this job at this point in her life. So yeah, not bad for a little slasher. I think Jason Rothwell actually, put a fair amount of effort into his screenplay here, believe it or not. I actually even quite liked the ending. For me, it just really worked. So I guess you would say that a psycho dressed as as Santa would be kind of easy to find, but the dude is killing at random, and he's killing the naughty people around town. I get that this movie, remake or not, doesn't really do anything new or unique, but as a peppy, sleazy slasher, you could do way worse. The gore is pretty good too, not too heavy on the CGI, and when it's used, it's out of necessity and not laziness, at least in my opinion. And it's fairly mean-spirited too, not quite on like Terrifier 3 level, but I think it sits nicely next to it, and maybe even like Christmas Bloody Christmas. So I'm giving Silent Night 2012 a 2 out of 4 stars. I went in expecting to completely hate it, especially after not really, enjoying Stephen C. Miller's most recent movie, but I had fun here. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you at the multiplex. Subscribe right now, please.